Good evening, everybody, and trust Vanessa. This is a really impromptu live. Couple of reasons. Mainly because it's Princess Diana's 20th anniversary of her death tomorrow, and she's an absolute hero of mine. So I've dedicated my posts on my personal page to her this week. And also because I found out earlier that Louise Hay sadly passed away this morning, and these are two phenomenal women. Louise Hay and Princess Diana are two phenomenal women who really made their mark in the world because they knew why they were here. For me, they tapped into the very part of them that resides in our hearts, our soul purpose that resides in our hearts. And I just really wanted to come on live tonight, that if there was anybody around, hi Georgie, hi, if anybody was able to join me to just give me their thoughts and their feelings around the subject that I'm completely embracing at the minute, called Love's Calling. And because of Princess Diana, and it's her 20-year anniversary tomorrow, and because of Louise Hay sadly passing away this morning, it really just inspired me to share with you a blog I wrote for one of the platforms that I currently write for. Because I think this succinctly tells everybody, but also confirms for me why I began and started Love's Calling in the first place. So I will read it to you, and then for those who can't join us, at least they can watch it back. But Love's Calling for me is why I believe it's for us to journey with self-love. And the question I ask is why? What's the alternative? You believe in insanity because you created it, but you do not believe in love because you did not. And that's one of my favourite phrases from A Course in Miracles. We live in a world run by fear. Some of us, more than most, allow fear to rule our lives, and the evidence of this shows up in ill health, violence of sorts, and addictions. Whether it's a common cold, a back pain, or a debilitating disease. Whether we make it a habit to squabble with our loved ones or hurt ourselves in some way, or whether we reach for a substance, person, or behaviour to help us feel better, when all we're doing is numbing the pain and giving in to our fears. After my girlfriend Charlie was diagnosed with mouth cancer that threatened her life, we began to look at how a lack of self-love had affected our lives. A lack of love and compassion for oneself only leads to pain and disease within our bodies. We unconsciously, or even worse, consciously choose to disconnect ourselves from the source of love. The energy that turns the world, grows the grass, and beats our hearts is love divine. And Charlie and I made it our mission to share what we believe to be true with the world. One goal, one purpose, love. And those are the 5 words I've called Charlie's 5 words. And this is my girlfriend Charlie, and this is the picture that I have on my mirror every single day with her 5 words, one goal, one purpose, love. When I used to go and visit her in hospital, she used to boss me around, say, come on love, you've got a job to do, we've got to get busy until I'm ready and well enough and can join you. But sadly, Charlie lost her physical fight here on earth and chose to go home, as she called it. If I asked you to point at yourself, where would you point? How would you point to yourself? Where on your body would you point? I bet you any money you like, if you took a look at where you are pointing right now, you're pointing to your heart. Whenever I've asked this question, I have never had anybody point to their head or their knee or any other part of their body. It's always their heart. What does this tell you? It tells me that you believe your heart is the essential part of you, the core part of you, the place where you believe you exist. So why do we not listen to it? Why do we ignore the loving whispers of our hearts? Why do we not trust that our heart knows what's best for us? We spend our lives making choices that please others and that makes us fit in where we don't belong. That's a classic for me. It's just that we don't know it at the time. We are conditioned by our surroundings and by the opinions and beliefs of others, adopting them as our own instead of listening to our own hearts, our truth, our own unique purpose. Until we get to the point where it is time to change, because the pain has got too much, because the disease we are faced with may take our life, because the behaviours we choose to live with are causing destruction within us and all around us, because we have run so far in the opposite direction of ourselves that we don't recognise who we are, and we ask the question we all ask at one time or another: who am I and why am I here? Because we know damn well the pain we have felt or are feeling and the mess we are living in is it's not supposed to be this way. And deep down we know that our lives are meant to be living and loving full out. We know deep down that it's our birthright to feel fulfilled and in total abundance, to live in love and harmony with ourselves, our loved ones and the world around us. What will it take to answer our heart's calling? What will it take to acknowledge our soul's whispers? What will it take to listen to love's calling? It takes courage. It takes courage to be still. We know that once we truly connect with our hearts, that it will inspire us to step into our truth and live full out, to own our magnificence and our power, because deep down we know this is who we are and why we are here. We are love incarnated, and we are here on earth to express ourselves just because we can, and to experience life fully. That connection that we so long for has always been calling out to us. It is constantly trying to express itself through us, and we do our best to squash it back down and suppress it even exists, and we succeed in doing so. There comes a time where we must trust that what is constantly trying to express itself is our true essential self. Who we truly are, we must trust that this is our gift to the world. Allowing ourselves to connect to our heart and soul, the heart being the physical organ where our soul resides, takes a willingness to practice switching off our conscious minds, the noisy part of us that constantly chats to us because it wants to control what we are doing and keeps us from becoming still and connecting to our purpose. This takes courage, because becoming still enough to connect to that place deep within us that we have chosen to bury, we know it will bring up all sorts of pain and discomfort, which is why we have buried it in the first place. Calming music is a great place for a beginner. A walk in nature works a treat too. I'm doing a live. Would you mind giving me a couple of minutes and I'll come back to you later? Yeah, thank you, darling. That's just Jody let me know he's home. A walk in nature works a treat too. For those of us who have practiced this for a longer time, we recognise the beauty and we feel the peace for looking for other ways to still our minds, calm our bodies and tap into the magnificence of our hearts. Whatever works for you, albeit meditation, yoga, breathing meditations, mindfulness exercises, or maybe we need to call it mindlessness exercises. Make it a daily practice, and by making it a daily practice is fundamental to building a sound structure to enable your heart's calling to surface, expand and live a life unlimited. Now we have made this choice to be brave and reconnect to our hearts, it is really important to recognise that the opposite of our hearts will also surface, and that is our ego. Our ego doesn't want us to listen to our hearts, because when we listen to our hearts and follow our truth, there is no place for the ego, and he will die away. The truth be known that as long as we are a human being, we will always have an ego. It comes as part of the package of being human. However, how inflated the ego is makes all the difference. The less we listen to our hearts and follow orders from our ego, the more inflated it is and bosses us around. The more we listen and follow our hearts, the less a part the ego plays in our daily lives. The indication of whether we are listening to our ego is that we are constantly feel like we're on a hamster wheel, or we feel frustrated, or more tired more often than not. This is where I believe choice comes into play. We either choose to continue being bossed around by our ego mind, or we can consciously choose to connect to our hearts and listen to love's calling. I believe one of the most effective ways to know if we are listening to our hearts is by the way we feel. When we feel discouraged, angry, hatred, insecure, shameful, numb, or fearful, just to name a few, we are disconnected from our hearts. And when we feel joyful, enthusiastic, energetic, compassionate, grateful, peaceful and loving, to name a few, we are connected to our hearts and expressing our true selves. The easiest way to stay connected to our hearts and to reveal the magic of our soul is to live in love and appreciation. Become aware that it begins with you. Choose to be loving and compassionate with yourself first. Be grateful for what you have now, today, however small or insignificant you think it may be. If you are grateful for it, you allow more of the same into your life. Your connection to your heart builds and strengthens you, allowing you to love and appreciate yourself and your life as being exactly where it is meant to be. You begin to feel harmony as you accept all parts of you, especially the sides you've hidden away. And now see and feel yourself as whole and complete, just as you have always been. It's simply your perspective and disconnection that you believed you are not. Your health improves beyond measure, as do your relationships, your environment, and the world around you. Your heart has always been the keeper of your soul. It never changes. Only we do. This is why we struggle to believe in ourselves and connect to our hearts. We are all born with a choice placed in our hearts, just in case one day we chose to be free. Yeah, Hoponopono. I love that, Georgie. Absolutely brilliant. Free to live the life of our choice. Free to express ourselves in the only way we know how. That's an article for the, if you missed the beginning, it's an article I wrote for the global platform that I write for. My way of really just trying to sum up for me what Love's Calling is about. And Love's Calling was born as a result of my girlfriend Charlie. This is Charlie, just after her operation in December of last year. She had mouth cancer and she sadly passed away in May. And we decided we wanted to share what we believe to be true, which is a lack of love, especially a lack of self-love, is the cause of pain and suffering in our lives, in ourselves, in our lives, and in the world around us. And I've done 2 events now with Love's Calling. All the profits go to Tyler's fund, which is Charlie's son. He's 12. He now lives with his auntie, Charlie's sister, in Richmond. And Love's Calling was born as a result of Vanessa Love's and what I believed was Charlie's calling. And after she died, she woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning with these 2 words, Love's Calling. And I didn't know what it meant. I just knew I had a huge smile on my face, and I knew I was meant to do something with it. The 2 sessions that I have done have been hugely successful. I was inspired really just to jump on and do this live today, because every single day I get private messages about, I'm struggling, I'm in pain, how do I deal with, I'm inspired by what you talk about, how does this relate to me, all sorts of questions. And it just made me realise that if I'm doing it on my Vanessa page, I want to be doing more in Trust Vanessa. I want to know what it is that you are struggling with, what inspires you, that you could maybe share with others. I firmly believe that any pain or suffering that we live with within our own lives, our bodies, and also what we're experiencing in the wider world, is because of the fact that we are disconnecting from the very power that turns this world and grows our grass and beats our hearts. And I want to do the very best I can to try and help others rediscover. It's always there because your heart's beating. It's always there. It's the very part of you that lives and never changes. Your body changes. My body at 43 is not the body I was born with. That's constantly changing. But the very part of me that doesn't change, the very part of me I was born with, that lives in my heart, the heart being the finite organ where the soul lives, is there just waiting to be tapped into. If we never tap into it, fine, then we live in a beautiful world. It's our choice to see that. But the awareness that the very special something that we're here to express is just waiting patiently for you to go, okay, come on out. It's been buried so deep down for so long, and that's what we call the shadow part of us. That's the bit that when we were children that we decided in some way to express. It's who you are naturally. And when we look at toddlers, when we look at small children jumping around in puddles and the way they play together, they have no inhibitions. They haven't had enough experience of life to really know what pain is about. But as we grow older, as we continue to express ourselves and we get told no, we get told, who do you think you are? We get told, pipe down, do you have to be so loud? All of these things that we have said to us that we take on as a belief that we're not good enough, because as we're trying to express ourselves, somebody tells us to be quiet, or we experience some pain in some way, that we just keep burying it, and we keep burying it, and we keep burying it, and it's always constantly trying to come back up, and that's what we're constantly feeling, and we feel nervous and fearful because it's constantly trying to say, let me out, let me out, let me out, and we do our very best to push it back down. The problem is with suppression is it's the complete opposite to expression, and we are here on this planet to express ourselves in the only way we know how. So my role and my purpose for Love's Calling is to help people rediscover the magnificence of themselves and provide a space where they can step into it in a loving and non-judgmental way, where they can learn to rediscover the very parts of them. And it will be a bit prickly, it can possibly be a bit uncomfortable, but I promise to do my very best, because in the last year, as I have been working through my shadow, yeah, it's been a bit prickly, and yeah, it's been a bit painful, but it has been the most liberating thing I have done. I have noticed such a shift in myself and my life. Even other people are noticing the change. So I must be doing something that's working, and I want to do my best to share it with you. So watch out for the next event that we're going to do with Love's Calling. Charlie is now helping me from a very different place rather than being by my side, but I promised her before she left us that I would carry on this Love's Calling, and I will. Our message that we didn't know it was called Love's Calling then, but that's what it's called now. But I would love, please, for you to keep your questions coming, even if it is private. And I think the reason I get private messages is because people are not quite ready to put their name to their pain or their suffering. If you are brave enough and you want to share in the group and you do have your questions, great, because I want to encourage everybody else to join in. It's not just about my knowledge and wisdom, it's about the women in the group and collectively our wisdom. So please do let me know how I can serve you, how I can help, what questions you have, and I will do my very best to give you the best I have. And let's all come together. This is why this group is just for women. I think we are truly magnificent, and I want you to be the very best version of yourself, because I do not want to see anybody else just exist in their lives. I want to see us thrive, and I want to see us love and support each other in an unconditional way and in a non-judgmental way. That's my role as a mentor. I have clients that pay me to provide the space for them, and that's one-to-one. I also do that too, but I would love to see how more of us can support each other in this group. God bless you. Thank you for joining me this evening, and I very much look forward to all of us connecting on a deeper level so we can raise each other, so we can all shine beautifully in our magnificence. God bless you. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.